I don't think I experienced anything challenging in regards to my mental health until I was 17. To be honest, when you're 16 and still in school, there's no bills to pay, there's no stress. Life's good. Stick to that age. My mental state was immediately affected when I knew I was gonna have a baby. I was at college, I was working, it was very stressful. So I had those things to contest with. I was quite isolated because I decided I didn't want any friends and I didn't want to talk to anyone. And I thought I was keeping myself really busy. Maybe I did get the work and the job and I was doing this and I was doing that because it was a way of coping and I never had to face the demons. However, when it was late at night, I'd finished work, I finished college, I'd done all my kind of studies. I was maybe watching a film or my series. That's when those emotions caught up to me and it was just heavy on my shoulders. And that's when you can't hide. It got to a point where inside I knew I was losing me. I was breaking down and I wasn't coping. I think it's fair to say the only thing that the social worker allocated for my unborn child gave me, other than stress, was information for psychological support. It was actually allocated at the Tavistock and Portman. At the time, it was referred to as the Teenage Parent Project. I'm not gonna sit here and lie to you. I never immediately accessed it, and there were several reasons. Some of those things, like my initial thoughts, were the stigma around using shrinks, psychological support, therapy, counselling. Firstly, as a woman, someone who wants to be seen as a woman, even though I was 17, turning 18, you're supposed to be that strong, independent, I can do everything, superwoman. I can cope with the world, my emotions I'm so stable, etc, etc. I don't want to be the person that has to admit I can't cope. Secondly, it's, I would say, family structure. My kind of family structure is not spoken about like that. In my own home, I know that as a child, I was very quiet. I didn't really say much, and that was sort of okay. I felt it was okay. That's how I sort of lived my life. My dad was someone who was also quite to himself. So I saw that at home and I felt like that was how you kind of coped with life. Thirdly, it's culture. I think culturally, as a Black community, it's unheard of. The furthest deemed acceptable for someone to go in regards to talking about your mental health is to Jesus. Black people want you to go to Jesus with your problems. Obviously, that's a huge generalization, but my point is just emphasizing and kind of exaggerating the idea that not only even as a Black community, even as a Black woman, there's an image and there's an expectation. And I also think there's also kind of something around being a young person and having mental health. You know, everyone had that kind of view on people that had any issues in school. So for you to then kind of grow up and feel like you're struggling, you don't want to be labelled. I can admit now, I was chronically depressed. You know, I didn't really go out much. I spent all my time eating. You should eat when you're pregnant, but this whole overeating thing, you don't need to do that. Obviously, I was quite isolated. I didn't have any friends. I didn't go anywhere and I didn't want to meet anyone and I didn't want to go out anywhere. I was depressed about finances. I was depressed about my housing. I was stressed and depressed about family, friends, people chatting about me. There was just a whole baggage of stuff. So that was stressful. And then alongside that, it was also affecting, I think what really made me accept the referral was because it was affecting my health and I needed to have good health. You know, I was a mother now, I had to start, well, a mother to be, I had to be responsible because I had high blood pressure, I had preeclampsia, I was obviously hormonal. But let me mention this to you. Following on from an article I read, I had headaches, dizziness. It's basically suggested that psychologically, I had breakout all over my body. The adjustment of pregnancy is superimposed on those of puberty age, and I had chronic eczema as well. So psychologically and intellectually, that pregnant teen is still developing. Therefore, it's difficult to meet the psychological demands of pregnancy. I personally strongly agree with that. So it got to a point where I was like, something's got to give, and I need this help. As I got to the clinic I was attending, it was like, to be honest, it was the place known for all the local loony kids. So I wasn't really impressed. I was sort of thinking, I hope my first session is unsatisfactory, because I sort of don't want to be here amongst these people. I'm not like them. And little did I know about how much that I would achieve, how much that I would gain, how much I would learn, how much that I'll take away from the experience. This therapy that I got would be described as CBT. So CBT is better known as talking therapy. So for, I think 6 months actually. And then I actually went back when I had the baby to continue using the support and talking about kind of the emotions I was feeling after birth. It may sound silly, but just being able to express myself, just being able to open up, just being able to talk to a stranger other than Jesus was a real relief for me. And it really allowed me to have that knowledge to be able to get on with my life. That's basically London. My end message is, don't be put off by things you hear in the media, amongst your friends, amongst your family, even in your community. There are people that are trained to help you. Don't suffer in silence. Access them. That's basically London. Couldn't leave it on that note. Peace!